What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition, the special edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, at the very least over the digital airwaves of YouTube. As usual, I'm in the studio thanks to my official studio sponsor, FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is the official sponsor of the Stephen A. Smith Show. As always, I'm thanking you big time because I've exceeded over 370,000 followers, picking up over 1,400 subscribers per day. This podcast, this show, would it be clicking? Would it be clicking on all cylinders? Wouldn't be going as well as it's going if it wasn't for the support and love that you've been giving me, and I thank you so much. But I'm just getting started. This is just the start of big things to come. Make no mistake about it. Remember, I got a new studio that I'm opening up in a matter of weeks. Wait till you see that, and you'll see why I've been in different places, just getting the stuff set and what have you, and I'm going to be ready to go. So I'm really, really excited about it. It doesn't happen if you're not supporting me. So I thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart. And by the way, since you're already giving me support, please don't stop there. Make sure you go out and buy my book, my New York Times best-selling book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes. It's a New York Times bestseller. It's been climbing the charts all of these months, and I'm still a bestseller. I can't thank you enough. So I really, really appreciate it. You know, usually I touch on a potpourri of subjects with any show that I do. Today's going to be a little bit different. And by the way, it's not just because I'm traveling. It's because this person that I'm about to interview is a very, very compelling person in my mind. I taped this interview a few days ago. It's somebody that I've admired for a long time, somebody that I think brings a lot to the table because he's incredibly inspirational. He's got a podcast. It's called The School of Greatness. The School of Greatness. Lewis Howes is his name. And there's so many things that he's been doing. There's so many wonderful people that he's been talking to. And the kind of subjects that he talks about are simply things that you can't ignore. He spoke on achieving not just success, but greatness, deciphering the difference between the two. He's been talking with numerous people about that. He's talking about how winning isn't the only thing. It's your talents, it's your skills, it's your gifts that can also serve as motivational tools to inspire so many people. He talked about chasing success and achieving it, but still not feeling fulfilled. He really goes about the business of dissecting and trying to figure out what it is that makes people click. What is it that truly, truly defines success? And does that feeling vary from individual to individual? And if so, why? There's so many different questions that come to mind, and there's simply no way around it. When you're talking to somebody like that, it makes you step back and become a bit more reflective. Have you done everything that you can do to be all that you can be? Have you truly been happy? If so, why? If not, why not? What does it take to make you happy? Is success really that it for you? That drug of choice per se? There's so many things that I wanted to ask him about. And it took me a while because of his schedule and mine conflicting with one another over the last few months, of course, to get it together. But eventually we just did the other day. And it's my honor and privilege to talk to him. So here is yours truly, Stephen A. Smith, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, talking to the man, the myth, the legend, the host of the School of Greatness, Mr. Lewis Howes. This is us talking. Hopefully, we'll find out the true definition of success once we finish with this conversation and whether or not any of us are truly capable of really, really achieving it. Here's Lewis and yours truly. I hope you enjoy it.
Score this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. And who wouldn't want a little something extra to celebrate if the team you're rooting for is victorious, you know? And even though we're well into the season, it's not too late to get started. In fact, there's no better time to get in on the action than now. We've seen the early season trends. We know what we're dealing with, and hopefully our bets follow suit. And this app is so easy to use. My friends love FanDuel. They bet spreads, props, totals, all the action they want on the game, and they're able to do so through FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/SAS and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
My guest today is a New York Times best-selling author, lifestyle entrepreneur, former arena football player, and author of The Greatness Mindset. Unlock the power of your mind and live your best life today. And of course, the podcast, The School of Greatness. Please welcome Mr. Lewis Howes. What's going on, man? What's going on, Lewis? How you doing? How's everything?
My man, Steven. Good to see you, man. Grateful and blessed.
Man, same here, man. First of all, thank you for being on the show. And I hear congratulations is in order. Is it true you just got engaged? Is that true?
Just got engaged, man. Feeling incredible, grateful, and lots of love, man.
Now, you know what a lot of men will ask you? They'll ask you how you become brave enough to take that plunge. I mean, explain how did it get to that point? How did you become brave enough to do this, Lewis?
Man, well, it took me till I was 40. I just turned 40 this year.
Right.
I had a lot of challenges in relationships in the past, so I made a lot of mistakes, and I feel like I'm finally learning. So that's how I got here.
I got you. As we sit here today watching, I mean, again, New York Times bestseller, you've been accomplishing a lot of things, no doubt about that. I just want to know the School of Greatness. It's got over 500 million downloads and 1,000 episodes since it launched in 2013, and it's ranked the top 100 iTunes podcast. Why do you think that resonates so much, and that's resonated so much with so many people?
I think because I've been really curious about finding the truth, finding answers. I think a lot like you, we probably just do it a little differently, that you're always seeking the truth, what's real, what's authentic.
Right.
And since I was a kid, I always wanted to know what it took to be successful. I was drawn by the greats, but I was thinking about success as a kid. How do I make money? How do I accomplish my goals? How do I become, an elite athlete, go pro, all these different things? It was more success minded. And here's the thing, Stephen A., I accomplished a lot of the things that I went after. I became successful in my own way in sports. I played with the USA national team for team handball. I played arena pro football for a while before I got injured. And then I went off to launch a multi-million-dollar business. But in my 20s, I was chasing success and accomplishing it, but still feeling not enough, still feeling insignificant, still feeling not worthy, a lot of fake, a lot of false confidence. And it wasn't until I hit about 30, 10 years ago when I launched this show where I said, you know what, something is missing. I've been chasing success, but what I really want is greatness. And greatness, what I've learned, is different than success. Success is about me. Greatness is about what I can do with my gifts to also impact others. So yes, I can accomplish and achieve, but I'm also doing something beyond me. And I've been fascinated with interviewing, meeting, connecting with the greats in sports, business, science, and life. And that's what I've been fascinated by.
When you say that you were in search of greatness, you say that you realized this about 10 years ago. What was going on in your life at that particular moment in time that made you know you didn't have greatness, at least in the crevices of your mind?
Man, I remember this is an interesting moment. I was talking about this with someone on my team the other day. I went to the White House when I was 29, so just over 10 years ago. And I got some award for one of the top 100 entrepreneurs in America under 30. So one of the top 100 in the country under 30. And I have this photo of Obama signed, saying, thank you for being one of
Right.
these individuals helping entrepreneurship in America. And I remember being at the White House with all these other incredible entrepreneurs who were making a lot more money than me. And just thinking to myself, but why am I not happy? Why am I still struggling in relationships? Why am I in breakdown? Why am I defensive in life? Why am I frustrated and feeling these things that don't feel great? Sure, on the outside, I might look like I have some things figured out. I've accomplished certain things, but I still don't feel like good. I'm successful, but I don't feel good about me. And I had to break the identity of what success and greatness was for me and realize like they're different. It might look the same, but they're different. And I know you've interviewed, a lot more great athletes than I have, but I had the chance to interview Kobe before he passed. And one of the things that Kobe talked about was greatness was about being able to inspire, impact, and really infuse love through your impact in the person next to you and it rippling to the person next to them and next to them. Using your gifts and talents in service of love was a lot of things that Kobe was talking about with me. And it wasn't just about winning and championships. It's about the impact we can make with our talents and our gifts. And I think there's a difference between those that we see that make a lot of money in sports who, Mike Tyson or whoever else makes a lot of money, then loses it all and goes through a crash in their life as well at some point and has to realize, oh, that's not what it's all about. I've got to be doing it in service to something greater than just me.
Describe the kind of person you was visually on the outside to somebody just looking at you before all of this epiphany hit you and you became on this, you just got yourself on this mission in pursuit of greatness. If I looked at Lewis Howes, what would I have seen at that particular moment in time before all of this transpired?
You would have seen someone that looks a lot like me physically, because I still had a lot of joy, a lot of passion, a lot of love for life. But underneath it was a scared little boy, unwilling to reveal or be vulnerable about anything. So everything had to look good. Everything had to be perfect. Everything had to be an image base. And I had to protect that image at all costs. Otherwise, I felt like I was going to die in some ways emotionally. So I had to learn how to psychologically and emotionally let go of these masks that I wore, this athlete mask, this tough guy mask, this know-it-all mask, all these different things. They helped me accomplish and succeed, but they didn't help me feel fulfilled and significant and feel enough. And so I had to learn how to heal, mend, and let go of these kind of false images that I'd built up in myself that served one area of life, but did not serve the other. So just to give you a context of what was happening at that time, I had moved to LA for a girl that I was dating that ended up not working out pretty quickly.
You relocated for her?
I told myself I would never do this, and it was a great lesson. I ended up doing it.
From where, by the way? Where did you relocate from?
I was in New York City, living the dream. My life was on fire. I was building my business. I was playing with the USA national team. I was loving life. I'm from a small town in Ohio, so this was like, man, a whole new world, right? I was like Aladdin up in here. And I moved because I was, into this girl after about 6 months of dating. And the day I landed, she broke up with me.
Oh, my Lord.
And it was like, what? And I was like, what? You wanted me to be out here. Now you don't want to be with me. It was like a chaotic experience. We ended up getting back together the next day, and it was off and on for like the next 6 months. And it was just an emotional turmoil. I was like, what is happening with this relationship? Where are we going? This is all over the place. At the same time, my business was growing, but I was having kind of like an emotional breakup with my business partner at the same time as well. And so my business relationships were struggling. My intimate relationship was struggling. And as an athlete, Stephen, I didn't know how to take my energy out or my emotions out. I didn't know how to communicate them consciously or in a healthy way. And so I would feel all this frustration and anger and resentment from intimacy, from a business partnership. And I went out and played pickup basketball here in West Hollywood almost every night. And I ended up getting in a lot of different fights on the mean streets of Beverly Hills. And
the mean streets of Beverly Hills, 90210
Beverly Hills,
Melrose.
There was these were pickup basketball games that had nothing on the line. with just a bunch of average players, and they were able to get under my skin so easily to the point where I got in a fist fight on a basketball court 10 years ago. This was everything that was my wake up call. And, I reacted to someone, he headbutted me, and then I get in a fight with him. We're kind of jarring at each other the whole game, trash talking, but I end up getting in a fight and I realize, oh man, this is, something's off with me. Something's wrong with me. Like I'm willing to risk everything I've built for a stupid, silly fight from a no stakes basketball game in Beverly Hills. Right. And it was a big wake up call. And my friend was with me at the same time playing with me on the game. And afterwards he goes, man, I don't know what's going on with you, but you're reacting to a lot of different things. You're very defensive when you don't need to be. And I don't want to play basketball with you anymore if you're going to be like this. And that was a wake up call where I started to go down this journey of saying, I need to reach out to some mentors, guides, teachers, healers, and learn why I'm triggered and reactive as opposed to in control of my emotions. And I think we see this from, great athletes who are more in control and calmer throughout all the ups and downs of a game. And they're typically more successful because they know how to manage their mind.
Well,
and that's one of the things I've studied.
Lewis, I got to ask, I got to interject. First of all, did you win the fight? I mean, did you at least win the fight?
I'm not proud of this, but I won the fight big time. But it was a scary win because
you hurt the guy.
It woke me up. I was not proud afterwards. And I realized, I could actually do some real damage. And that was a wake up call.
When you relocated and the girl, because I know that story because, I don't know if I ever, when you interviewed me, we talked and one of the things I didn't tell is that I took a high school girl that I was dating, in high school. I took her to the prom. She dumped me the next day. She had used me. You know what I'm saying? Just so I could take her to the prom, pay for the prom, and then she dumped me the next day. That was a devastating experience for me that people think I still hold on to every day because I'm considered hardcore. And obviously I'm 55. I've never been married, and I've never really, really wanted to, even though I was engaged a couple of times, but I've never really wanted to get married. I did want to get married, but not to the degree that you do when you get older. So it's definitely a wise decision, all joking aside, and I wish you nothing but the best. But when you talk about that wake-up call and you talk about tapping into controlling your emotions, controlling your mind, whether it was you, whether it's Kobe, whether it's some of the other great minds that you've talked to and you've interviewed over these years, which obviously having a successful podcast, what have you learned from them as it pertains to whether it's a device or ingredient or whatever the appropriate word is to controlling the mind and controlling the emotions so you don't get a bit haphazard and overreact in a fashion that could ultimately be detrimental to you?
Yeah. And I don't know if it's more controlling or awareness and being conscious of the mind and the emotions. Because when you are aware and conscious of it, you don't need to control or hold back anything, I think. So, but the first thing is understanding where in your life you feel like you're not enough. Because most of the greats are triggered by a feeling of not enoughness, something in their childhood or teen years, or didn't get picked on the playground or whatever it is, or got bullied or something. Their parents drove something in them, whatever it might be. I remember Kobe, his story was, I think it was he was 13 or 14. He didn't score 1 point in an entire summer league.
Wow.
He played all summer in a league and he didn't score 1 point. And the thing that he told me, at least, was that his father said, whether you score 1 or score none, I'm going to love you no matter what. And for him, that gave him permission to say, all right, I can go out there and fail because I know I'm going to be loved. And most of us are driven to seek approval and love because we didn't get it somewhere. But when we get to the root of where I'm not enough, there's usually 3 fears that cause us to doubt ourselves. The fear of failure, the fear of success, and the fear of judgment or other people's opinions. And at the center of one of those fears, usually we have one of those fears as more of a dominant for us until we've addressed it and processed it. So the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of judgment. If you ask a room of people, Stephen, and you say, how many of here, raise your hand, are afraid of failure? 70, 80% of most rooms raise their hand that they're afraid to fail. Wow. And it causes them to doubt self. And so that causes them to take less action on their goals, their dreams, or whatever it might be. They're less courageous because they have that fear.
Correct.
If you ask a room of people, how many people here are afraid of success? About 50 to 60% of the rooms that I ask will raise their hand that they're afraid of success. Now, for me, this always blew my mind because as a kid, I wanted success. So I was like, I'm not afraid of this. This is what I want. But most people are afraid of it because the pressure, the weight, the stress of it, the leaving the hometown to go after what you want, losing friends, people now wanting more money from you, whatever it might be, all the things that come with success. There's an actual documentary called Weight of Gold that is about Olympians that get depressed or commit suicide after they win the gold medal from the weight and the pressure of success. We see it with a lot of people when they retire. The third one is the judgment, the fear of judgment. What are other people going to think and say about me? And for some people, criticism does not affect them. They're driven by it. You know, I see Coach Prime talking about this. You guys can talk about whatever you want, but I'm going to go after and I'm going to disrupt the industry, right? But other people, they're crippled by the criticism, and that holds them back from believing in self and going after it. At the root of all three of those fears is I am not enough, a concept we've all felt at one point in time, and some more than others. And when we can learn to recognize where we don't feel enough and how to manage and navigate that and be aware of it and work with that, that's when we can control, navigate, or manage our thoughts and our mind to not hold us back, but to allow us to move forward.
Wow. We're talking to Lewis Howes right here with Stephen A. on the Stephen A. Smith Show. As we reflect on things that you've accomplished with your podcast and beyond, with your New York Times best-selling book, I remember reading something where you said you couldn't get motivated building somebody else's empire and didn't like people telling you that you couldn't do something. Mm-hmm. Most would say that's 99% of the world that's in that kind of position. You're usually working for somebody else instead of being self-employed. You're usually having to follow orders. You're usually having to help somebody build their empire to some degree. Everybody is told what to do. Even when you own your own business, you got clients and they're telling you what you want. So the question to me begs, how is what you just said with what I just read, how is that helpful to the average person if they're able to look at themselves and say, well, that's us. I mean, we don't own it. Most of us don't own our own business. Most of us don't necessarily control our own destiny in that regard. Most of us do have to take orders. Even those of us who are business owners and entrepreneurs have to answer to somebody. What is he talking about? How do we get around that? How do you answer that question?
Well, it comes down to vision. And I remember when I was starting, after I was done playing arena ball, I was never good enough to make the NFL. I had a few tryouts, but, you know, I'm a 6'4", 225-pound wide receiver, but I didn't have the speed. I was a 4'6" guy, and just that's not good enough at the pros. Played arena ball, got injured, broke my wrist, was in a cast from my shoulder to my hand in this position for 6 months as they fused a bone from my hip to my wrist. And I was sleeping on my sister's couch during this time. For a year and a half on her couch, living for free, not paying rent, eating her food. After a year and a half, she said, it's time you contribute. You should probably look for a job. I remember I started to apply for sports marketing jobs. This was in Columbus, Ohio. Mm-hmm. And I finally I found a job that was like, oh, this is a company that I think I could be interested in. I think I like. And I got an interview. And so I put on the one blazer I had, the nice pair of pants I had from college still, and I get ready to go out the door of my sister's house to head to this interview. And for whatever reason, I could not enter the car. I opened the door and I literally cannot go out of the house to get into the car because for some reason, I thought to myself, and I had a much bigger ego then, I was like, I'm going to do this interview. I'm going to crush this. They're going to hire me. And I saw the path. I'm going to be here for 3 to 5 years. I'm going to work hard, improve myself, and be successful. And I realized that wasn't my vision. My vision wasn't that, to work with that company. And I think it's really hard to start or launch a business. And I have more people that I report to than if I just had one boss or one company I was working for. I've got all of our listeners who I need to make sure I show up for in a positive way and show up as a leader to. I've got my employees. I've got our partners. I've got all the algorithms that I report to,
Yep.
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all these different places. I got to report to everyone. But I'm clear on the vision. And for me, the vision is to serve 100 million lives weekly to help them improve the quality of their life. And so I could go work for a company as long as they had that vision. And so I think people need to understand, am I in alignment with the vision I have for myself? The great athletes are very clear on what they want to accomplish in their athletic endeavors and their vision. They're clear on the end goal, the result they're looking towards. Most people are not clear. And so they might just be frustrated that they're in a career or a job that they don't fully love because their vision isn't aligned.
But how do you become clear? I mean, I'm asking that stuff not just for the average folks out there. I'm asking that stuff for myself.
Yeah.
As successful as I've been, there's some times where the vision isn't clear. It's a bit blurred because there's so many opportunities. There's so many people in your face telling you what you can do. What would be a better opportunity, this one or that one, where you'd be best suited for. I follow my passion. I follow my gifts. I follow what I know that I can do and be successful at, asking myself, will I really like that? Because it's hard for me to imagine I would not like success. But would I really like doing that along the way? But despite the inordinate amount of success that I've been able to enjoy, Lewis, I got to be straight up with you. I mean, there are days where it is a bit foggy. You find yourself enjoying other things that you're not obligated to do more than the things you are obligated to do, but you may be highly successful at and didn't really have a problem doing. How do you capture that vision of clarity?
There's two things here. There's a gift and a curse of success, right, Stephen A? You're one of the highest paid TV personalities, or at least in sports from my awareness, at one of the most successful networks in the world. Millions of people would beg, dream, and kill to have the opportunity that you have to be in your seat. Millions, if not a billion people probably, like, who would want that type of success, that awareness, that those relationships, that access. Like, it is unbelievable. But the gift and curse of that is, once you've had it for a long time, there's 1,000 new opportunities that unfold. And I think it was Warren Buffett said the difference between successful people and extremely successful people is the ability to say no. And I'm paraphrasing this, but when you become more successful and have more opportunities, there is a curse to that. It's a gift and a curse. I mean, this is a first world problem to have that, but there's a decision fatigue, there's an opportunity fatigue, and it can seem overwhelming. And what once was, and I'm not putting any words in your mouth here, but once is the most incredible thing ever is now, yes, this is still incredible, but I have other interests. I have other things that I'm curious about. So there's a letting go of things that maybe no longer serve us in life once we create those opportunities we want. And I think those that truly build a legacy of GOAT status are the ones that are able to say no to so many things. You think about Kobe, you think about Brady, you think about people that are playing their sport for 20 years. They say no to a lot of opportunities until after they're done. And it's not fun. It's not fun to show up the same thing every single day and be consistent. And I'm not saying that's what we should all do. I'm just saying there is a certain price to pay for greatness at a specific level. And that doesn't mean you can't be great in life at every level. But that's one thing. And I think for others who aren't clear on their vision, I remember when I was playing arena ball, I was a truck driver for 6.5 hours a day because I was doing 2-day practices with the Columbus Destroyers. So I practiced in the morning with the Columbus Destroyers, and then I practiced at night. I would do like drills with the quarterback and receivers, and then kind of the whole team later at night. And I needed something to make money. So I was a truck driver. I would drive a Napa auto car parts truck from Columbus to Cincinnati and back every day. And I don't know if you've ever been to Ohio and driven from Columbus to Cincinnati, but there's not much to look at except for cornfields. And back in the day in that truck, this was before there was Bluetooth and all these different things. You went 55 miles an hour, pedal to the metal. I can't really listen to music. I can't call people. And I realized after 3 months of this is something I don't want to do. And so through elimination of trying things and seeing what you don't want to do will help you get closer to what you do want to do. A little bit of struggle, I think, is a good thing for people, realizing I don't like this. What am I drawn to? If I really listen to my heart, what is calling me? What is drawing me? What is getting me closer to something that feels more aligned to my talents and gifts and to what brings me joy and fulfillment. And I think we should be leaning into the things that bring us more joy and fulfillment with our career choices and aligning a vision with a company, a group, or whatever it might be that supports that alignment.
Get this. In the next minute, I'm going to talk to you about Indeed. And in that minute, 16 hires will have been made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. That's the power of Indeed, because although there's no I in team, there is one in Indeed. And that's the hiring platform you need to build your team. You can attract, interview, and hire all in one place on Indeed, which gets you ahead of the game. But their tools are more powerful than that. I'm blown away by the stats, like how candidates you invite to apply to your job are 3 times more likely to apply than others. That's how you go and get who you want. That's how you build your team. Join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/SAS. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/SAS. Just go to Indeed.com/SAS and support the show by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Indeed.com/SAS. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Well, a couple of things I think that you'll be interested in knowing because we have a couple of things in common. I was on a basketball scholarship at Winston-Salem State University when I was working part-time at Roadway Trucking in Kernersville, North Carolina, loading and unloading 18-wheeler trucks. Okay? So that was one job. The other thing is that your dyslexia, if I recall, according to my research, was diagnosed. Yep. Mine was undiagnosed, but I grew up suffering from dyslexia. That's how I got left back in the 4th grade with a 1st grade reading level. So we definitely have that in common. Talk to me for a second about how those challenges helped shape what you are today, because those challenges were there before. You had other challenges later on that led to the epiphany that success wasn't what needed to be chased. It was greatness. But this was happening before all of that. So what kind of impact did that have?
Yeah, I think there's gifts in every struggle, and it sounds like your gifts through your struggle, you learned how to read and communicate and understand people. And this is something I did as well as a kid. I started to observe people because I didn't feel smart enough, talented enough, or gifted enough to fit in. So I watched and observed people, and I learned how to overcome my fears of rejection over and over again, essentially for survival in my own mind, at least. And when I was 8, my brother went to prison for 4.5 years, just selling drugs to an undercover cop. Wow. And coming from a very small town in Ohio, my neighborhood was mostly, lower middle class, mostly white kids around the neighborhood. I hadn't seen anyone go to prison as an 8-year-old, except for what I saw on TV and movies at that time. And so I wasn't really allowed to have friends during that time because the parents didn't want their kids hanging out with the convict's little brother.
Wow.
That was a challenge. And then when I went away to 8th grade, I was diagnosed with a 2nd grade reading level as well. So I had this insecurity, like, man, I'm never going to be good enough in school or in anything where I have to think critically around books and reading and memory and all these different things. But I said, you know what? I have incredible hand-eye coordination, or at least in my, school grade I did. And I'm going to lean into this gift of athleticism, of having a vision, of seeing the ball where it's going to be before it's there, and always being in the right place at the right time in sports. And I started to develop that gift in business. I started to see trends. I started to see what I needed to create ahead of time. And pretty much every time I did that, good things would happen. And then I started to help others do the same. So whatever I found or I felt insignificant, that was where one of my greatest gifts were born out of. And it sounds like for you too, you had an incredible drive. You had an incredible, as opposed to studying and reading and writing, you used your voice and you connected people with humor and with intellect and with storytelling and captivating people the way you do now to be at the top of your game at one of the biggest networks in the world. And it has given you so much more benefit than being able to read and write at a high level in 5th grade, right? So tapping into the the places in our life where we struggle the most, usually there's something good that can come from that if we can see the benefit and lean into it.
Mm. You know, I'm thinking about what you're saying, and I'm imagining. I'm trying to interview you and stay focused, Lewis, but I got to tell you why I'm a bit distracted, because the kind of content and the discussion that we're having, I'm imagining Kobe, because he was a friend. And I miss him all the time, man. I loved him dearly. And it's so sad to know that he was gone, because, as you know, sitting in front of him, it didn't take long to figure out how brilliant this brother was. He was something special.
Unbelievable.
Just unbelievable intellect, and it was something special. And I'm imagining the kind of things that he said to you with questions like this about greatness, about sacrifice and what it takes. Do you find yourself in this day and age thinking the way that you think, being as motivational as you are, knowing that you're saying things that people will easily embrace and receive because it's not off-putting, it's very supportive? Do you find yourself at any time turned off by people's willingness to take shortcuts, by people's willingness to cut corners? They're thinking about the end result as opposed to the process it takes to get to where you know they need to go in order for them to feel good about themselves as much as they want to. And you just literally are witnessing people sitting before your very eyes, talking to you, that are their own impediment to their own success. Do you find yourself noticing that more and more? And if so, how frustrating is that for somebody like yourself, who is so committed to having a positive impact?
I see it a lot. And I don't know if it frustrates me. I more have compassion and empathy, because there's been times in my life where I've cut corners, or I wanted the success faster than I got it, or I was chasing something to feel loved and needed and seen. And so I feel like because I've been there before, I have compassion for people. And I just try to give it to them as straight as possible, you know. And I try to do it by leading by example for myself. Like I focus on my health every morning and really dive into it, because I know I let myself go a little bit, and I'm like, how can I speak into something if I'm not doing it myself? So I've got to make sure that I'm clean in my house first, that I'm taking care of my body, my mind, my energy, my relationships first, and really lead by example. So the less I worry about other people, and the more I focus on how can I be a great leader to me? How can I be someone I respect? How can I be someone that my future self will be proud of, because I'm putting in the work for me, even when people see it or don't see it? I'm proud of my consistent decisions. I have more compassion for other people when they say, hey, how do I get to this place? Or how do I accomplish my goals and my vision sooner? And I say, listen, you just got to be willing to put in the work. I was talking to a friend of mine last night who's probably 10, 15 years older than me. He's about 50, 60 pounds overweight, and he's let himself go a little bit. And for years, I've been telling him, man, I want to see you healthy. We need you in this world. The world needs you. You're an incredible voice. You're an incredible leader. And I kind of gave him a coming to Jesus moment where I was like, you've got to change your lifestyle for your health, because otherwise you're going to struggle. And literally last night, he was like, this is the one area of my life where I struggle. I make great money. I've got great relationships, but this is a challenge for me. And it's not going to get easier in your 60s and 70s. And I said, you just got to make a decision and be committed to it. But he doesn't have that. He doesn't want it bad enough.
Right.
And some people want the result, but they don't want to pay the price.
They don't want to pay the price.
They don't want to pay the price. And I say, okay, cool. It just means you will suffer greater later. And you can either suffer now and control the suffering, or you won't be able to control what happens later.
Well, Lewis, you'll be very proud of me, my brother, because before I ask my next question, over nearly a couple of years ago, I had COVID. I had skinny fat is just the nastiest thing in the world. Skinny fat is just the nastiest thing in the world.
Nasty, man.
When you have no muscle, no definition whatsoever, you just skinny with a pot belly, and you don't know where the hell it's come from, because you ain't eating that. You're not eating that much. You don't know why it's just ballooning, what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. And I just committed myself after watching my man Dana White turn his health around, the president of the UFC.
Look at that transformation.
Right? Look at that transformation. He introduced me to a guy for
Gary?
10X Health, Gary Brecker. And not only that, I already have a trainer, all of that stuff. Last 8 months, I've lost 33 pounds. My cholesterol level has dropped by 100 points.
Let's go.
My insulin levels have dropped from a 27 to a 2.
Come on.
I went from being 0.1 point away with a 6'3" number with my A1C levels, from being completely diabetic to being 5'3". No risks whatsoever of diabetes. And I am in the best condition that I've been in 25 years.
Oh, it's incredible.
25 years. But here's the beauty of it. Because of that health transformation, which, by the way, is still in progress because I injured my shoulder recently again. And I did nothing major, but I got a restful week, so I couldn't work out. I was working out 6 days a week, for crying out loud. Can't do that now, right? But here's the deal. Because of that physical transformation, my health, where my stomach's going and all of this other stuff, it has helped my mental. It has helped my spiritual. I have my little moments where I get agitated or whatever and I overreact. Then I catch myself because all of a sudden nothing bothers me nearly as much as it used to because I'm happier with myself. When you say you prioritized yourself in the morning, one is the physical. Physical's given. Exercise. All right. And eat right. Diet and exercise. That's what it is. How do you address the mental? How did you address the spiritual?
This is interesting. Well, first off, in the words of Prime, you're not coming anymore. You're here, and you're in that journey, but you're still arriving, but you've arrived, which is really cool. I address my spiritual and my mental. I don't know if this is the right place to speak like this, but through healing my mind and I spent the last, 10 years going through a spiritual and emotional and mental journey of uncovering the painful memories of my past that my brain has kept as our brains are artifacts. They hold the memories and experiences of our past.
Right.
Our interpretation of those memories create an emotional reaction, a feeling. Those feelings drive our behaviors and then trigger our thoughts to think a certain thing, and this cycle and loop continues. So in order to break a cycle of trauma, pain, resentment, frustration, the mind taking over, we must go back and mend the memories of the past, create new meaning behind the memories that hurt us, that caused us to feel not enough or frustrated, or, you have a clear memory of your date at prom breaking up with you. And probably for a long time, that was painful and hurtful. Maybe it still does today, but that was an artifact and a pain that might have influenced certain actions in your life and relationships. I don't know. I'm not putting it in your mouth, but it might have.
You're right.
I had similar memories. I got picked last on 4th grade in a dodgeball game. The teacher took the whole class out and said, okay, I'm going to have 2 captains pick one at a time. And 2 boy captains picked every boy in our class first, and I was the last boy. But they skipped me and they started picking every girl one at a time to be on the dodgeball teams on the dodgeball court. And I was the last one picked. And you better believe that drove me to say, I'm never going to get picked last again. And drove me to push harder than ever as an athlete. We've got to learn how to mend those memories and then attach it to a meaningful mission. Most of us aren't clear on what we want, and it's not meaningful enough to us that is beyond looking good, beyond having something to feel powerful. When we mend the memories and we have a meaningful mission at the same time, we have a force of energy like you've had around your health of these last 9 months that is unstoppable. It doesn't mean it's not challenging and there's not hard days and you've got to
unstoppable.
sacrifice, but you are unstoppable. And the force is so powerful that you are able to overcome so much more temptation, stress, or whatever, because you started to mend something around your health. You have a new meaning for the mission. You want to probably live longer. You don't want to be sore. You don't want to be
Right.
hurting yourself when you're in
You want to be
5,
at your
10, 20.
best, particularly when
at
you're
your best.
performing and you're performing with the eyes of the world staring down upon you. You want to make sure. I cover professional athletes. I'm like, the least I can do is be in some decent shape. I'm covering the most phenomenal athletes in the world. I mean, damn, make an effort, do something. I mean,
Exactly.
that definitely plays a role in it. Before I let you get on out of here, your latest book is called The Greatest Mindset. It's a New York Times bestseller. It's another thing we have in common. Both of us are New York Times bestsellers. You say the book will teach readers several key things. Tell me some of them.
I think the first one is figuring out what your main fear is, what causes you to doubt yourself the most. And I put them through a lot of exercises to help them overcome that feeling of self-doubt. You know, there's a lot of great athletes that you have interviewed and you're probably extremely close with who have this belief in self or belief in something higher than self that is unwavering. And you've probably seen a lot of talented athletes, like the freakiest athletes you've ever seen, not be able to perform at high pressure situations, but they have every element except for belief. So the goal is teaching people how to get back to a state of self-belief that makes it unwavering for them, and really how to figure out how to overcome the fears and insecurities that hold us back. And like you said, when you have no clue on what your vision is or what options to take, or you have too many options, most people stumble there. This creates an exercise that allows you to get clear on your own meaningful mission at every stage of life. So at least you have clarity and you can move towards something you're excited about as opposed to being confused.
Just that simple. Listen, I'm mad that I've got to go, and you have to as well. This is one of the most enlightening conversations I've had. I've got to think about myself, Lewis, because things are going pretty well. But you know, I'm always ambitious. I'm always looking for more. But the level of satisfaction that one ultimately internalizes is what, to me, leads to true peace. And when you have true peace, you've got room for growth because there's an absence of urgency that gets attached to everything. You don't feel pressure. And as a result, you don't feel like you failed when failure hasn't even knocked at your door. You're not overreacting to that emotionally. And I think that goes a very, very long way. I think it's safe to say that's an epiphany that you've reached at this stage and point in your life. Is that not the case?
I think peace, you mentioned it right there. I don't know if you had Jeezy on for his book that just came out.
Not yet. I intend to, but I will.
But he said that having peace is the new rich.
Yeah.
And I feel like having peace in your decision-making in your career or your business, having peace around your health and having peace in your relationships, for me is the greatest thing. And so it's always focusing on being in integrity with myself and my vision and integrity with my decisions so that I have and that I am peace. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to have challenges and struggle and have hard moments or days, but at least knowing that I'm in a peaceful state most of the time.
I'm quite sure your fiance is a very, very lovely and beautiful woman. We're physical creatures as men. We are attracted to what we see. We don't look at somebody we're not attracted to and say, I want to marry you. I mean, so it's safe to say that she's probably a very, very beautiful woman in your eyes. But if you had to pinpoint the one thing that she brings to your life that made you say, hey, I want to spend the rest of my life with her, would it be peace?
I think she cultivates a level of peace. And because she continues to work and develop herself, her personal growth, and she fully accepts who I am. And so because she fully accepts me and she is a conscious communicator, I have incredible amount of peace. And it's a beautiful, like I've never been engaged before. I've never asked someone these words, will you marry me, until last week.
Wow.
And as a 40-year-old man, I never thought I would do that because I never felt peace in any relationship. And I had to create the peace within me first. and then attract someone at a different frequency who also had that peace as opposed to chaos, because I was attracting chaos because I had chaos inside of me. And so once I was able to mend these memories from my past that allowed me to choose differently in intimacy, that gave me a lot of peace. So she brings it because she is peace.
Wow. Lewis Howes, man, I really, really appreciate the time, man. Really enjoyed this conversation. I enjoyed when you interviewed me as well, man. You're a great, great person to talk to, man. It's an honor and a privilege to spend this time with you, man. I wish we had more time, but thank you so much for joining the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate you, brother.
Take care, buddy. See you soon. The one and only Lewis Howes, right here with Stephen A. on the Stephen A. Smith Show. That's it for this edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Thanks for watching another episode. You can watch me at the very least every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday over the digital airwaves of YouTube. Make sure to like and follow the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on YouTube. Just click the bell to get notified for all of our new content. And be sure to pick up a copy of my New York Times bestselling book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes. Until next time, this is Stephen A. signing off. Peace and love, everybody.